Welcome back to another episode of Seminoles Sideline 365. I'm here with a quick update on January 18th, Sunday night, right before the national championship game. We've had some kind of breaking news in terms of Florida State signees from the portal. They've just landed a kid tonight from Iowa Western Community College. It's a JUCO, and I may have that even wrong by saying it. Iowa Western Community College. That is correct. His name is Malachi Marshall. You'll probably be hearing a lot about this name in the next coming days, and if you haven't already, just because of a couple of factors. One, I don't think most Florida State fans are necessarily happy with the state of the quarterback room right now. So you're going to see a lot of sites, including ours, talk about that position group. And a lot of fans are going to be looking for other options or hope in terms of what else can we do outside of Ashton Daniels? And does this open up quarterback competition? I was just looking on social media this evening, just kind of catching up for the day. And with this signing, a lot of people were like, hey, we got this kid on campus. We got to sign this kid. We got to sign this kid. And they seem to think, and there's a large majority of the fan base that seems to think that this indicates that there will be an open competition this spring. Malachi Marshall, from what I've read, is not going to arrive until June, which I think is a big negative for him. And I think will hold him back. If he was enrolling in January, I think that would have been a huge benefit for an open competition. But the fact that they've now signed two quarterbacks, we talked about in our last show, they signed the other FCS quarterback who had a good amount of experience. And now they've signed Malachi Marshall, who was, like you can see there, JUCO national champion at Iowa Western Community College. And has some accolades to him. He was also, I think, the top player. I mean, got the award for the top player in JUCO as well. So top QB there, winning that award. 2,700 yards, 33 touchdowns this fall. Awarded the Division I Offensive Player of the Year, and in that ranks. And ranked as the #1 junior college quarterback available. So them going after this type of player tells me, one, they didn't feel good about the depth of the room, which they shouldn't have, because Jaden O'Neal, we've already talked about, is out. He's injured and is not going to be available to play. And two, it tells you that I think a little bit that they may be playing for the future. This is a kid that's going to have the ability to have 2 years left to play with 3 years of eligibility to play them. So he doesn't necessarily have to play this upcoming season if things don't roll out. If he doesn't look ready, he needs to build up his body, because he is a pretty wiry guy. If you look at the tape, you look at his build, he's listed as, I believe, 180-ish pounds, and I think that I may have that wrong, but and that may be generous of me to say that if I got that wrong. But he and the old man that texted me when he saw the news too, and he'll be back on the show Tuesday nights. Yeah, they have him listed as 6'2", 170. The old man said he reminded him kind of the build of like a James Blackman. And I think, James Blackman was a lot taller. I believe, he was more 6'4", 6'5", I believe. But in terms of the build and kind of that lanky, kind of skinnier build, that's what Malachi kind of looks like. He needs to kind of get developed in a proper program, because this is a kid that started his career at Stony Brook, played very sparingly there, and then moves over to Iowa Western and immediately starts playing and leads them to a national championship in those ranks. And this is a guy that kind of they found under the radar, it seems like. It didn't seem like he had a ton of other offers that I know of out in the portal. But once again, you get good selections out of JUCO. Florida State's had some. A lot of schools get some good selections out of the portal. And this is where they decide to use a scholarship. So it'll be interesting, but it is the debate of, is this someone they see that can come in and be part of that quarterback room right away and push that room? Because some people also think that Kevin Sperry could also, knowing his familiarity with now Gus Malzahn's system for a year, He left Brock Glenn in the depth chart last year, coming in as a true freshman. He was QB number 2, and they fought to not burn his red shirt last year because they see him as a viable starter. Will this be an open competition for Florida State? And will a guy like Malachi be a part of it? And will a guy like Kevin Sperry be a part of it? Will all 3 quarterbacks have the opportunity to be QB number 1? I don't expect that the Florida State staff said, "Hey guys, Ashton's going to be our number 1 regardless of what you guys do." And just suck on that lemon. You're going to be number 2 regardless. I don't think any smart coach would do that. But does this move indicate to you guys that they're being hyper competitive in terms of, we don't care how we brought you in or how much we paid you to come in? And I don't think they paid Ashton Daniels a ton of money to come in. I don't think he was, and we've talked about this, and I think they went like they did last year with Tommy, more of a budget route for a quarterback. And we looked at Ashton Daniels' stats. He only played 4 games last year too. So Ashton's not coming in off of a hot year where he lit it up. And no offense to him, he doesn't have a history of lighting it up, right? When you look at his Stanford, what he did at Stanford statistically and his efficiency, this is a guy that's thrown 24 career touchdowns in 4 years. So I don't think anyone on this quarterback room should feel entitled to the quarterback position. It should, in my eyes, be an open competition. And whoever prepares the best, whoever develops the best in the offseason, and whoever has the best feel for that offense going into the spring and performs the best and then goes into the fall, who has the best response with the receivers and understands the strategy and is showing up every day to work prepared, they should get it. I don't care who they were brought in, how they were recruited, what they're getting paid. That's the person that you go forward with. There should be no assumptions. So coming off a 5-win season, no one should be assumed that they're a starter. I don't care if it's the Sear twins and if someone laps them, if it's a true freshman, I don't care. There needs to be a culture of competition on this. And if this is the guy that comes in and he comes in and he's prepared and he's ready to go and he laps the 2 guys in front of him, play him. I would love to see that happen. So yeah, we'll have to see there, but I don't want to make up. At the same time, I don't want to make up a fake narrative that this guy's going to come in and be number 1. But I do think it's an interesting move. Now, the other question is this guy, does he fit the system? I think Brendan Sonnen had a good article that you guys should check out on 24/7, and he kind of breaks down what he looks like and his strengths like that. And he has some clips here that you can pop up and see. And I've seen, I've watched his huddle tape and stuff like that. And I think that this guy does have some good things. You see his ability to move in the pocket and throw on the run. Now, he makes some risky plays like that. But this guy can definitely sling it down the field, which I think is a big positive. You see that, gets pressure on his face, looks out. From watching his huddle tape and watching the way he plays, he's very good at scanning the field and continuing to keep his eyes down the field. He's not a quarterback that feels pressure and immediately takes off. He's very, very good at feeling out pressure and then continue to look downfield for an open receiver. He also has very good ball placement. This is a great example of that ball placement. When he's good, he's very, very good, and he can deliver the ball down the field, which I think is a very, very positive, and why they offer this kid, because he's got a lot of good examples of this tape. And some things that Sonnen kind of marked off is that he also has quick release, which you see in his huddle tape, where kind of that RPO style, he really delivers the ball quickly out of his hands. And that, for the Gus Malzahn system, can be a big positive of delivering the football quickly, reading, scanning, delivering. One thing that I believe will not work in his favor is I don't think he's going to be able to take many big hits against ACC linebackers or SEC competition when we face Florida, Bama, stuff like that. If this guy gets hit running the football, how much can a 6'2", 170 quarterback take? Before I think he needs a year to really get into a college, ACC, FSU's training facilities, nutrition program, and really build up his body to be able to take some of those hits. The other thing is his size going to be a disadvantage? If he gets pressure in his face from a 6'4" defensive lineman, 300 pounds, not a junior college, defensive lineman, defensive end. Is he going to be able to see over the line? His size, 6'1", is he actually 6'2"? Is he more like 6 foot, 6'1"? The sites kind of sometimes, you know, smudge numbers a little bit of how their height is. So it'd be interesting to see how tall he really is behind the line. I'm not really as worried about that because we worked with Tommy, and we did have issues throwing across the middle. So I would like to see how he measures out truly, to see if he's a lot taller than Tommy was. The third thing is that, and Sonnen really did point this out based on the tape, is that he isn't a true runner. So he doesn't really fit into Gus's ideal quarterback situation where he's not a burner in terms of his legs. This is a guy that likes to use his legs in terms of he has the ability to roll out and run and throw accurately on the run, but he's not kind of a run first guy, or he's not a guy that's going to beat you all the time with his legs like a Tommy was, or like an Ashton can with his mobility. This guy wants to pump it down the field with his arm. He wants to go vertically with the football. He doesn't want to use his legs to gain yardage. That's not his first priority. As you saw in those clips, he's always looking down the field to deliver the football. And so how does that fit into a Gus Malzahn system? So this first year could be a field out for both sides. You come into a real program, get nutrition, develop your body, go into the spring, play with the team, see how it works. But like I said, we need someone, and I press on this. I wanted to bring in the quarterback that can pump the ball down vertically, because if you have the running game of the Gus Malzahn offense, that's if they can chunk off 4 to 5 yards a carry, that sets up those speedsters for Danzy and for Boggs and for a Deuce Robinson to hit those vertical shots. And last year we missed a lot of those critical vertical shots with Tommy. We did hit some, but there were so many plays we left on the field because Tommy couldn't deliver the football when those guys were open. And that's why I thought bringing in an accurate deep ball thrower could have been interesting. And maybe this guy fits that mold, because we know he can get the ball of his hands quickly in that RPO style, and that could fit in the system. But this guy, I don't believe, can carry the ball with his legs 15 times a game. If that's called upon him, I think he would get beat up in his first year here. That would be tough. So we'll have to see how he fits into the system. But I once again, it feels like a low risk, higher reward pickup for Florida State, especially knowing that Jaden O'Neal is out for the season with that ACL injury. So let me know in the comments what you guys think of this. If you think this is more of a long-term play for Florida State versus a short-term gamble, and how you think this will play out in the quarterback competition. Or do you believe that Ashton Daniels is already locked in as the starter? Kevin Sperry is still going to be number 2, and this is more of a, like I said, insurance QB3, maybe competing with Sperry for number 2. So let us know in the comments there. The last thing I want to bring up is that Florida State did add to their defensive line another player, which we continue to say that even though they brought the Desir twins back, as well as Kevin Wynn, they also needed to add another defensive lineman and continue to build up that depth, because they've lost 8 defensive line people this portal season in 2 weeks. So they've added Jordan Sanders out of Texas State. Big guy, graded out very, very well at Texas State. He started out at Cal Poly his first 3 seasons. So this guy has a ton of experience behind him. And he kind of fits that big body that you're looking for in that middle. 6'4", 306. Hopefully he can come in and fill some of those shoes that you're going to lose by losing, like you said, all those bodies that you did in the middle, specifically in losing Daryl Jackson. I don't think this guy can obviously replace Daryl Jackson and what he gave you in terms of taking on double teams. Like I said, Daryl Jackson wasn't putting up sack numbers and stuff like that, but he was absorbing a lot of pressure in the middle that allowed the Desir twins to get production. But this is a big body that you need in the middle, whether rotationally or even as a starter, and he comes with a lot of experience. So once again, I think this is a low risk, higher reward type of addition, and it gives you much needed depth that you had to add to this team. Because once again, the guys that are coming behind Florida State, Kevin Wynn's going to be a true sophomore. Tywin Lee is a true sophomore. And then you got guys like, Daniel Lyons, who's been around for a while, which is good. But you needed experienced depth like this. So I think this is a good plug and play option. We'll have to see how he produces, but in previous stops, he's done pretty well. Now, those previous stops were against, lower level competition, obviously, Cal Poly and at the FCS level and Texas State. But last year he had, 10 quarterback hurries, 13 tackles, 4 assist tackles. And like I said, graded out pretty well, especially in the pass rush. He was graded out as a 75.6 in the pass rush grade and a 71.9 in the run defense. So overall as 78. So even if that drops a little bit lower due to ACC competition and grades in the 70s, he'd be one of your better defensive linemen this year. And the thing I like about that is he jumped up from the FCS level to Texas State, obviously, which is FBS, and his grades got better. They got exceedingly better with the same number of snaps. So I think that's a positive sign. Obviously, I think that's a real positive sign. So like I said, I'm not going to oversell this guy, but I think this is a solid pickup. And we're going to talk with the old man about, once again, this is a guy that's not coming from, an SEC, Big Ten, other ACC school. This continually goes with the strategy of finding guys that are performance guys, high experience guys that are coming from under the radar schools, under the radar places that you hope are hungry to show something that are going to buy in immediately and put it all out the field, because this is kind of their final chance potentially to either go to the next level or to build their brand to go somewhere else and kind of make more money, right? Because a lot of these non-power 4 school players that you've signed, you got them all over your roster. And the old man and I will do a breakdown show of our portal, and you'll see the strategy all over the place on this class specifically. But I believe that this kind of has the feel of a Garrett type, your new GM, John Garrett. This has the feel of him, and I think your signing of Malachi Marshall, it has the feel of the scouting of a John Garrett as well. These under the radar type of selections have kind of his fingerprints on them, because remember, both those guys now, Norvell and Garrett, have to sign off. From our understanding of it, have to sign off on these selections, and I think these under the radar selections are affordable, and they have more reward and less risk on them, but you're not getting guarantees. That's also the big thing. But we'll welcome those guys. I think you're not going to miss out. I think, once again, it's going to be interesting to see how the strategy plays out for Florida State, and potentially Mike Norvell's last year, but we never know anymore, right? It'll be an interesting 2026. And keep in mind that after the Miami-Indiana game on Monday night, we should, I would assume, to see a good amount of other players jump in, and Florida State is going to be actively monitoring that, I would assume, to see if any big talent jumps in, or if any rotational players, if there's any backup linemen, offensive linemen, because Florida State would absolutely take potentially a backup defensive lineman or offensive lineman from either Indiana or Miami. Miami's done a hell of a job of developing offensive linemen and defensive linemen over the years. And if you think one of those guys wants to jump in and maybe cash in on Florida State, I think Florida State may take the bait on that if one of those guys becomes available. And we'll have to see. But I would expect Florida State is going to keep a scholarship spot open for 1 or 2 spots open for Indiana and Miami to see if any of those guys that positions in these, if any of those players jump into the portal. So that'll be something to monitor, because remember, those players get 5 extra days once that championship game is over to jump in. So keep monitoring that. And that's going to do it for tonight. So thank you guys for coming out. Let us know in the comments what you think of these 2 additions to Florida State. Do you think it's impactful, not impactful? But that'll do it. And once again, and as always, go Noles, go Noles. We will see you very soon, and have a great start to your week. Take care, everyone.
Seminoles Sideline 360.